Yeah, to get under a minute and anything, that's really difficult. But here they come to take the green.
All right, we've got IGT, our first major race of the day. It's early morning here in Lime Rock, and as we head down the San Posey Straight, we will watch the pace car come off, which he does now, and that means that we are about to go racing down towards the Mission Foods Turn 1 for the first time. Watch out for the 262 on your left. Meanwhile, the 78 on your right, the red and black, will try to inch into the first corner, but it is going to be Joe Viola who takes the lead through the Mission Foods Turn 1.
Yeah, Joe Viola, then Zach Ehrlich. I'm sorry, we were talking about they have the twins, but Zach Ehrlich here, just kind of growing up in this area. But it was funny, Ken was telling me that 9 out of the 12 racers here are a part of the Lime Rock car club, but it's the Ehrlich brothers that are not. So they don't have all the experience that these other drivers do, but they have youth, and they are in Grandpa and Uncle's car. So let's see what happens as he comes and looks at Joe Viola, who's always fast in anything.
Yep, and down for the first time down the Bennett's Bridge Hall downhill section, under the bridge in the final turn 7, which again is very tricky because if you put a wheel off on the side there is nowhere to go. There's no gravel trap, it's just grass, and it's easy to turn the car. As in, to try to get an aggressive move at turn 1 is the 78 of Zach Ehrlich. Can't quite do it, stays in second place, and Parjons is in third place, Todd Parjons, and Ehrlich, the other Ehrlich in the 75, that's Max, is in fourth place, excuse me.
Now, we're going to watch this, though, because Zach Ehrlich right before, so Viola was taking the defensive line, which isn't quite as fast. Zach ducked way out there at those Mission Foods markers, and let's see if he does that strategy again, because right at basically midway through, you can see him jump there.
Yeah.
He was faster through the corner than Joe Viola. So unbelievable jump there from Zach Ehrlich. So I think the judges, we're going to give that one a 9.8. See if it gets any better from here.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great position for our cameraman there. And coming through camera 3, Joe, one of the best out there. And he'll be watching those
see
jumps.
How he's going out here.
Yep.
Now he's going to try to take a faster line while Viola defends. And about halfway through, Zach might get right behind him. Not quite there.
It's almost a slingshot, isn't it?
We'll see if this pays off as now they come through the left-hander, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's the only left-hander of the whole circuit.
Yeah, it is, which is another important thing to remember when you're under safety, because there's so many safety cars here. You can see where the barriers are. They're right there. This is old school. Opened in 1957, and a great shot there. But this is where it goes uphill, and this is the sort of Cube 3 architecture West Bend area where the cars get light before they dive down again and under the bridge. I remember Tommy Dreesy having a crash there a couple of years ago. Now you dive heavy down, and it's a long snake down to turn 7, and then back on the power down the San Posey Straight.
Now let's see what he does here, Zach. See if he gives kind of that same look. Not sure there. Here we go. So, yeah, he goes out a little bit wide. Viola takes – it's still a fast line, but Viola definitely in the defensive line. Zach is being able to carry more speed, but then eventually comes up behind Viola and has to let off. But at one point, if Viola does anything shady there at any time in this race, Zach should be able to get around him. And because this is such a short track, we're doing a lot more laps than we would at like a Road America or Road Atlanta.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's hard to work out where to make the pass. What he's doing right now is good work as he comes up over the hill, and there you see that little jump I was talking about. And yeah, just a little bit of air as they pop out. And it reminds me of Cadwell Park in the UK. And we have a similar track with a big hill like that. And I love this turn 7, the right-hander. It's a real commitment. Now, let's see if he tries to change tactics this time. He's been glued to the back of him throughout the first few laps, and point to the official time. No, he does the same idea, goes a little bit wide, but gets good driving. He'll tuck himself in. And there is a possible overtake at the end of the Paul Newman straight, but you've got to kind of start it here.
Yeah. Yeah, but right now, Zach Ehrlich looking really fast. Behind Joe Viola, like I was saying, one of our fastest drivers, and Joe has driven fast here in just about everything. So it's going to be very difficult for Zach to get around. It's basically going to take either a crazy move or it's going to be Joe Viola making a mistake.
Now, they are glued together and pulling away, as you can see. 3 seconds the gap to third place. Now, we were talking about how the car gets light, and you've done enough laps in cars to know that you do not want a car that gets light. This is what I'm talking about. Watch this. So you're coming up through the Newman Straight, and now you head uphill. Now watch in slow-mo. Literally, the cars get air. Look at that. Whoa, it's a wheelie.
Yeah, and it's funny. We were talking to Chris Dyson and Rob Dyson the first year that Chris won here. And Rob Dyson, who's raced here his whole life and a faster driver, he couldn't believe that we were running what's called the old school track here with that hump. Basically, they had to make those chicanes to keep that from happening with the IMSA cars. But we, being a more traditional motorsports club, wanted to run the traditional track. And you'll see in our Cube 3 Architecture TA2 series today and in IGT, these cars, that was a four-wheel lift. Usually they're lifting their front wheels. That was a full four-wheel lift.
I was talking to some of the photographers earlier in the weekend, and they were quite giddy, quite literally, because they were watching the TA2 cars get air. Thomas Merrill getting the wheels going left and squirming from side to side straight at the photographers, scaring the wits out of them. They all had to change their clothes afterwards, but they enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh, yeah, it's really fun to watch. But right now we have a battle up front with Joe Viola and Zach Ehrlich. Zach Ehrlich is in a 2018 4-liter. Joe Viola is in the newer iteration of the GT3 Cup Car 2022, but both are in 4 liters. Both seem to be equally yoked, and I'm not sure what the four-wheel jumps are doing to his time, but from style points, he's winning all the style points.
Yeah, they should be extra points. We'll have to get Ken to get an extra point system for, style points and jumps.
There goes his brother getting 4 wheels off there, too.
Well, on the style points thing, I have to say, the good news is we don't have a Russian judge on the panel. Okay?
That's always good.
All right, so
they score low, don't they?
All the time. So, if you check out International GT Facebook site, there's a great video up there to the appropriate music, Van Halen, Jump,
cool.
in there, and also some great photography of these cars going over there. And I'm old. You talked about old school, Ben. I'm an old school guy. As you know, I spent the first 25 years of my life here in Connecticut, and this is my home track. But, when we were here and I was here in the days of competition and IMSA and so forth, it was called the uphill, all right?
Right.
It was just called the uphill. Not until we got below sub-1 minute times did things start going differently. A fast time in a GTU car, I'm dating myself, in IMSA, which is probably similar to these cars, on race tires was about a 104, 105. That was it. Now, we're running 53 seconds. Huge difference, and hence the chicane came in.
So you can see there, Zach doing that kind of going out to try to shorten the corner there at the apex, and but Joe Viola just keeping that defensive line, and right now Joe Viola's car is really hanging on there, but any type of mistake, I think Zach is going to be able to pounce. We've got a replay.
Yeah, as you can see, once again, coming down the Paul Newman Straight, coming to the end of it and back up the hill. Here's some air. Here we go.
Whoa. You better make sure the front wheels are straight when you go to that.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot with SVRA. If they give any kind of right input, as soon as it lands, the car just goes off to the right.
Yeah,
and you'll see in the wall, lots of people have done that. So
I've experienced
you have
that
to
one.
be cognizant to put straight input in the car.
Literally straighten the wheel as you go up the hill. You'd put a slight steering input at the base of the hill as it compresses and gets into the hill and gives you all that wonderful grip. But once you're going to crest, you better have your hands at 9 and 3 and straighten that wheel out so that you're going to land straight. I guess kind of like, not that I know anything about it, but landing an airplane. If the front wheel's turned when you land it, you're not going to go in the right direction.
Zach Ehrlich is giving us a good example of what Lime Rock's all about. It's all very well to be tucked up behind the man in front of you, and there you see him, Viola. But where do you make the move? Because you've got to make it stick. You can't make a half attempt at it. Again, 2 wheels off the ground, then for second place Ehrlich. But you've got to make it decisive. The obvious place is at the end of the Sam Posey Straight into turn 1. But it's not as easy as it sounds, because if you don't get it right, you've got 2 more bends to come after that first corner. And this is what I'm talking about now. Down this straight and into this corner is the obvious overtake.
Yeah, if Big
Yeah.
Ben is not dirty on the outside, you can hang on the outside quite well there, actually. You know, it's not the optimum going into the next 2 turns, as you say, but you can hang in there with the other car trying to make the pass. And then you're in the correct position for the next 2 turns. The difference between these 2 cars, although 4 liters and 4 years difference, and as I said yesterday, Porsche continues to develop, and this is their latest reiteration of the 911 based race car. It has more aero, it has more stick, and that's where Max is really not, or Zach not going to have the advantage. His has less. At Daytona, all right, he'd be clear sailing, all right, without not having that encumbersome aero. But here at Lime Rock, where you got very, very fast corners, the fastest overall lap speed of any track in the United States. There's nothing much under 90 miles an hour. The aero really comes into play.
But look at this. This is as close as it's been, and you can see Zach getting right behind him, using that draft and coming through. Really, Joe Viola is so used to driving this close in his SVRA groups that he's not probably being intimidated like Zach is expecting him to be in his mirrors. But Zach really showing us the talent. The Reismans are probably in pit lane right now just watching this, biting their fingernails.
I just saw him here on the deck. They came up and Dad was there. I said, "You've retired from driving?" He goes, "I'm just here to watch the boys." And as you know, they've kind of grown up here. As you know, they were, very early teenagers when they started driving here with us, and great to see. Something I heard yesterday, and it's no real surprise, but 9 of our 13 drivers that are with International GT are Lime Rock Club members.
Oh, there you go.
So no surprise that these drivers are very, very familiar.
Yeah.
One of the ones that's not familiar, and it shows on the timesheet, and he's in Trans Am, SVRA, and IGT, trying to get as much track time as he can, is David Hampton, car number 14. Stuttgart Cup came in 4 liter, all right? He said on the podium yesterday, "I'm here to learn," and it's hard to learn quickly the nuances of Lime Rock, the difference between
and that's
1
him
second is
right
huge.
in front of these
Yeah,
two.
it is.
These are our leaders. This is the closest that we've seen it with Zach, getting great shots going over the jump. There's David Hampton there in the Stuttgart Cayman, doing really well in the Western Championship, like you said, but yeah, never been here before, and this is a tough track to learn. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen, this is as close as it's ever been, and they're going to catch David Hampton here at Mission Foods, aren't they, Jonathan?
Yeah, and this is what you want to do. You want to try and get past him before the end of the Posey Straight, and that's exactly what the leaders are trying to do. They jink out, and into Mission Foods they go, and that was classic Lime Rock overtaking, because you do not want to get stuck behind him after this corner, because you may not get past until the next lap.
And a shout out
David
to
Hampton,
David Hampton.
is a good shoe with this mixed class racing, and I think he saw him and maybe even kind of slowed down a little bit there, so we appreciate that. But this battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th between Todd Pajonas, Max Ehrlich, and Russell Farhang just really going at it. But this is back to our leaders. I love those yellow wheels there at Joe Viola.
Well, this is a great battle between these two. They've been glued together since the race began. But there's so much else going on, of course. Ooh, a little bit of dust flying up. Let's go on board with Andre Fernandez in the 17. And now you really get a chance to see this hill and how light it goes. The car just totally losing all the downforce before it dives into the right-hander and down the Bennett's Bridge Hall downhill.
Side by side here into Big Ben, Jonathan.
Well, he thought about it, didn't he? He's been this close the whole time, though. And it's a question of when. I think it's the right thing to do, which is wait till the laps tick down. There's still some 7 minutes to go in this one, so and 7 laps to go. So, he's got time. There's no point in. He's going to be the hunted if he overtakes now.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's really fun to watch. I'm not sure if Zach is showing us everything just now strategically. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here live on Speed Tour TV on YouTube. Leave us a comment if you're seeing something. Give us some judging scores here on these jumps, because this is going to be happening all weekend long here at the Memorial Day Classic. And how cool is it to be riding on board?
This is Mr. Toad's wild ride right here at Lime Rock Park. There's no rest for the weary. It's working all the time. The backstory, Andre was supposed to be second on the grid in our camera car, but Andre kind of slept in this morning, all right? I mean, I was calling and saw his crew guy, and then he's there, and then he was prepping, so he started from the back and is now up to around 6th place, running competitive laps, but he certainly put himself at a disadvantage, but it makes for some good in-car footage.
Yeah, we appreciate that. From an in-car onboard footage standpoint, this gap has increased a little bit. Joe Viola getting the gap, and I wonder if Ehrlich and if the locals here actually set up their front suspension and their tire pressures knowing that that uphill is coming, or are they just going out there in a normal setup?
I don't know what the setup is. I think you would have to go with a more all-around setup. That is not the advantage. The advantage of speed here is the downhill, okay? The downhill is where you're going to catch, because that's going to give you your longer straight, which is not that long down the Sam Posey Straight, into Big Bend. So really the two areas, it really starts at West Bend. You got to carry speed through West Bend, in the downhill, and then down the straight into Big Bend. Those are really the three areas where you can gain some time.
Yeah, and talking to some of the engineers, they were saying they basically set the cars up right-hand turns, get all the priority, since there only is one left-hander. So they're willing to kind of lose the time on that one left-hander so that the car is set up really well for right-handers.
Well, these two are going at it. They're gonna give each other a big handshake as we go back on board.
There's traffic.
With Fernandez in traffic now. I love the graphics here. You can see the G-force, that little red dot. You can see where he is on track. You can see the gears, the speed, and of course you can watch him work his hands on the wheel.
And this is the battle for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're coming up here on lapped traffic, so that could come into play. And with these new modern Porsches, I don't know if we can call that a steering wheel.
Yeah, it's very gamey, isn't it? It's straight out of the sim games.
But look at this, making this pass here on Farhang. So now up to fifth place is Fernandez. So, we couldn't have asked for a better camera car as he goes in real deep there into Big Bend.
Yeah.
And might have given up a little bit of time, but, might have been also just kind of looking at his mirror at the car that he just passed. So we're seeing it there. Here is that one left-hander.
Yeah, I love the onboards because you really do see how they go about taking on this track. Like I said, it looks simple on paper, but it's far from. And now this is where it's really going to get tough for Joe Viola, because he's sort of tiptoeing through the traffic here, the slower cars, but he's got to keep one eye on what he's doing and the other eye on the man behind him, who is getting a little impatient as he looks ever more racy, and now goes for it. Yes, a little bit of a gap there by Viola, and through almost goes Ehrlich. Can't quite do it.
That was a good try.
Good try. You know that he's going to make a mental note of that, as is Joe Viola, so anything might happen. We got another overtake here on our onboard with Andre Fernandez. So it's just happening all over the track like we like in IGT.
Great racing, IGT, and they'll have a full weekend. Have you got endurance as well this weekend?
This afternoon, 45-minute race with a 3-minute stop at 5:15 this afternoon.
Good.
Okay, watch this at the exit of the downhill. Looks like Ehrlich might have something here.
Well, he's winding himself up, and this is where you start that overtake, which is right here. Get good drive out of here, onto the straight, tuck yourself in. As Ken says, it's not a long straight, but it's enough for you to tuck yourself in. He keeps going to the outside. He really wants to kind of turn in now and get that same inside line he got last lap. He can't quite do it. And again, Joe Viola is wise to it this time.
Yeah, that's the thing, is Joe, he showed his cards on that. I give him a lot of credit. I give Zach a lot of credit. That was a very good textbook move outside in. And I give Joe Viola a lot of credit. Gave him racing room, and they continue to battle on to the end of this race.
But look at this, the Ehrlich twins in second and third place right now currently. Man, that front of that car just slams down.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about the weight distribution in one of these 911s. It can't be easy, because it's a mid-engine car, so you don't want two wheels in the air too often.
Yeah, James Olson, one of our commenters on YouTube, is saying, he showed his hand there, and we got the white flag out, so take us away, Jonathan.
Well, here we go, final lap, and it's all about whether Zach Ehrlich can do anything. Frankly, if he hasn't done it now, he's not going to do it, in my opinion. But he can force the driver in front of him. There is some traffic ahead of Viola, so he's got a chance to try and force the error. That's the only real way he can get past now. There's not going to be a safe or straight overtake. There isn't an obvious one. They're powered very similarly, as you can see. And unless Joe Viola makes a mistake, I can't see it happen for Ehrlich. And he's going to have to follow him home and try to hound him into a mistake as they go up. Finally, for the last time, over the Cube 3 Architecture West Bend and down towards the Bennett Bridge Hall downhill section, under the bridge for the last time. And glad to see the traffic getting out of the way. And though Ehrlich is going to be tucked up behind Viola, it's going to be a one-way win for the man who led the whole time. And massive pressure, great racing between these two. Viola takes the win. Ehrlich takes second place. Fernandez takes third. And Kent's clapping his hands, and that means that the boss is happy.
Yeah, that was a good run. You know, this is a beautiful racetrack, small, but it doesn't take a lot of cars. You know, this is one of our fields.
Right on the last lap.
Right on the last lap.
And that's at the top of the hill just before.
Yeah.
So that's just before the bridge. So he's gone wide coming into 6, and then just, he's planted it in the wall on the 806. What a shame for Parjons, who was up at 3rd place at one point. Todd Parjons. I think he just got onto the grass and couldn't get it back.
I think he made a mistake. So.
Yep. Ran out of talent mid-corner, as they say about me when I go to a race school.
Exactly, yes. Well, perfect. Well, thank you very much for the invite.
My pleasure, Ken. Great to see you.
Great way to start. I'd like to thank our marketing partners, Pirelli and Mission Foods, our sponsors, Detroit Watch Company, Fixie Wheels, Sunoco Race Fuels, our vendor, Speedcom Communications, Stand 21. Thank you very much. It's been a good racing weekend so far. We've got a 45-minute race at 5:15 this afternoon. We hope to see lots of fans on the hill. I'm going to head over to the winner's circle with Ben and tell some lies and give some stuff away. So all the best.
Yeah, shout out to Juan Gonzalez, of course, Mission Foods. A huge part of this series, and many others, I may add. He'll be definitely blazoned on Pato O'Ward's car in the Indy 500 today, but he is making a real name for Mission Foods around the world of motorsport and loves it. He takes part in this championship from time to time. Well, wasn't a lot of overtaking, but there was some great action right from the get-go. Joe Viola took the lead ahead of Zach Ehrlich. And from there, these two pulled away from the chasing pack. There was overtakes, Andre Fernandez getting up to 3rd place. But the real battle was between these two, and it really was a dogfight. And it just didn't change the whole race. They did get into traffic. Here's Andre. But there's a little bit of air for you. Look at that Porsche of Zach Ehrlich, keeping the wheels straight so he doesn't go off. Fernandez making his way through to 3rd. This was the closest that Ehrlich came the Mission Foods turn 1. Couldn't quite turn it into a race victory, and so it's Joe Viola, Ehrlich 2nd, and Fernandez in 3rd. Wow, great race. Confirmation of the results then, and GT3 Cup cars winning the way with Joe Viola and Zach Ehrlich, and then the GT3R Porsche of Andre Fernandez. We're on board. Max Ehrlich takes 4th position, Russell Farhang in 5th. Steve Katz, Charles Craig, Jonathan Draper. Sadly, Todd Parjons ended up in the wall on the last lap, but gets through to 9th position, and Michael Stack rounds out the top 10. So, don't forget, we've got plenty more action, and of course, our feature race today, TA2, a packed house of cars, led by the likes of Merrill, Rafa Matos, you name it, and it's going to be a cracking race. But that concludes our IGT coverage. Stay tuned, keep the live feed going. We'll be back in...